Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Renegade Operative here, and welcome to yet another analysis video. Today we are talking about The Last of Us Part 2, this very anticipated sequel, this shocker that was dropped on us on PSX, the PlayStation Experience 2016. So what I have here is just some key notes of what I'm going to go over and talk about when it comes to this sequel. Now, we start with keynote number 1. What do we know so far? What we know so far is that The Last of Us 2, in terms of plot, it takes place 5 years after the original Last of Us. So I assume something went wrong here in the encampment of Tommy's place, where Joel and Ellie are now somewhere else on their own. Now 5 years is a lot of time for things to go haywire. So I assume something bad happened. Ellie seems to have grown up in a sense. She is now taking a new path, which seems like revenge because you see a lot of dead bodies, you see the Firefly logo, so you must assume that this faction is still active in some degree. Now you have Joel, who just scrolls up in the house while Ellie is playing on guitar, and this is a key point to note because Joel did mention in The Last of Us that he was going to teach Ellie how to use the guitar and how to sing, so I guess she learned by this point.
Feel that breeze, huh? I tell you, on a day like this, I just sit on my porch, pick away my six string. Yeah, once we're done with this whole thing, I'm gonna teach you how to play guitar. Yeah, I reckon you'd really like that. What do you say, huh? Ellie, I'm talking to you.
Huh? Oh, yeah, sure, that sounds great.
So anyway, after this we get a little bit of dialogue and exposition, and Ellie mentions that she's going to kill every last single one of them. There is some extra information that Neil Druckmann also added. He's talked about some development and some concepts of the game, talking about how new characters really didn't work out. The core of The Last of Us is about Joel and Ellie's story. He also mentioned that this game is a companion piece to the first game, so for the people who were either saying that this story is very conclusive, he wants to make the companion piece with the second game that makes it an overarching arc, so one cannot exist without the other, which I thought was very interesting. He also said that Ellie is going to be the main protagonist, so I assume you will have Joel as supporting. He will be the secondary character while Ellie is the primary. Also, he said some things about how The Last of Us 2 will not let the fans down and that people should trust in Naughty Dog with this piece. So I wanted to move on to some of the other key points that I have here with this analysis. And one of the things that you may have noticed is that there's a lot of theories going around saying that this might not be actually Joel there in person when he walks into the house and talks to Ellie. People are speculating that Joel might be actually deceased and Ellie might be suffering some hallucination. So this ties into something that I remember just recently. Druckmann said that the crux of this story is all about revenge. It's all about hate. And I think that this is going to tie into the Firefly logo that we've seen earlier in the trailer. I assume this faction is still around, they still exist, and maybe they found out about Joel's mass massacre at the end of the first Last of Us, and now they finally caught up with him in Tommy's encampment. I don't think that Joel's dead though. I think that that's a little bit too far-fetched in my opinion for this story. The Last of Us is usually more grounded, more realistic, so having Joel as this spectral figure, it doesn't really work well with the story. It really would be kind of weird in a sense. So I hope that Joel is still around in this game. So remember that hint that The Last of Us American Daughters gave us in Uncharted 4, where it was that very pregnant woman on the image of that comic. Now I think this is just speculation, but I think that maybe the Fireflies found Tommy's encampment and they tried to come in and ruin Ellie's new life with a new baby. At her age, she's like 19, so she's an adult now. Maybe she settled down in this encampment and they came in and destroyed everything. I think that maybe she was pregnant at the time, and the Fireflies are still hell-bent on getting that immunity out of Ellie by any means necessary. Now, if you think about the implications, that's very fucked up, but that is not far-fetched when it comes to The Last of Us. So I think that maybe the Fireflies has a new leader, and they found out about everything that Joel did, and now the actions that the player had in the first game is now impacting you in part 2, which is a very interesting concept, and that will very much drive this theme of hate, this theme of revenge, so the player can go after the Fireflies and literally wipe them out. This is something that Neil Druckmann said about the theme of hate. The first game was about the theme of love and relationships with Joel and Ellie. This is purely sounding like something out of revenge. I mean, everyone has hated something in their lives, and Neil Druckmann has stated that The Last of Us is about humanizing characters in the middle of this post-apocalyptic backdrop. Also, I think for the record that Ellie's tattoo could symbolize the fact that she tried to cover up her past life. Maybe she's not too fond of Joel's lie. Who knows? Maybe there's something else going on with the fact that she has this hand trembling thing now. I guess that involves maybe the traumatizing event that happens in the beginning of this game that we don't know about yet. So I assume it has to do something with that. Ashley Johnson did say that Ellie has went through some very messed up shit as we start The Last of Us Part 2, so I'm very interested to see that. Next, we have the context of the story and the events from the last game. Of course, as I said, this is going to be brief, but I do think that she does find out about Joel's lie. Maybe she becomes rebellious. I speculated this in the other analysis that I had about American Daughters. Maybe that sets her off to be a little bit more distant from Joel, because Neil Druckmann did state their relationship is a lot more different 5 years into the future than it was in the last game, so maybe that has something to do with it. So this is what I'm speculating, of course, and I think that all the choices that we made are going to affect us negatively from the first game. That's what I'm speculating. That's going to be the basis, and it's going to be batshit insane, but I'm really looking forward to it. And as I said, Ellie is going to be the main character, so we're going to see it from a different set of eyes, and Joel's going to be sort of the background guy, but I'm looking forward to seeing him too. So we have final thoughts here and what could be improved from the first game. Obviously, the first game, like most recent Naughty Dog games, they have some erratic pacing issues and usually some bad AI. Now, Uncharted 4, I will say the AI was pretty solid, pretty stellar for what it was, but for The Last of Us, the AI was just all over the place. I had glitches and the remastered version, at least from what I played, where I was sticking to walls, clickers were going into space, all types of stuff that just broke the immersion. So there needs to be less of that. There needs to be less pacing issues. Things should be just constantly happening from point to point to point as the situation gets worse, from bad to worse, and that seems to be the world and theme and lore of The Last of Us. So this should be pretty much evenly paced out. No more sections where you have to take a fucking wooden pail and get Ellie on board with stuff like that, or Joel has to do this for Ellie. It's just very redundant, and it's not interesting gameplay wise. Finding 10 or 20 different ladders to climb up. It should be very what's the word I'm looking for? It should be very dynamic, hands-on, very beautiful, but also vicious in the controls of your hand, just like the first one, but refined and reinvented, just like Druckmann said. So I do have faith in Naughty Dog for doing this. I do believe that they said there's not going to be a release date just yet because they don't want to put out a random date or year and they don't meet that mark. They made that mistake before with some games. So I don't expect The Last of Us until 2018, but when it comes out, man, I'm going to be pretty excited. Last thing I wanted to address is just some wild and crazy theory about The Last of Us Part 2 that maybe Tommy betrayed Joel. I don't think so. I don't think that Tommy would betray his own brother like that. I think that their relationship kind of solidified at that last encounter, and when he went back 5 years prior and let him in, no problem. I think that Tommy and Joel are pretty much peachy keen, and I think that the villain speculation, I think it has to be someone akin to Negan from The Walking Dead. Negan is this very just asshole character in The Walking Dead. He owns his own faction, so maybe they could have someone who survived over the past 5 years in The Last of Us Part 2 that has grown to scorn and hate you for your actions of the first game, and he's well trained and well prepared, and he has enough power and numbers to the point where maybe there's a point in the story where Ellie and Joel actually lose to him, and this could go into this fear and paranoia and very revenge driven issues that Ellie has in the game. I'm working on platinuming The Last of Us Remastered now. I am fucking stoked. PlayStation experience just blew my socks off compared to last year. Gonna make a review on that too, so stay tuned to that. But until then, this is Renegade Operative signing off. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Last of Us 2 analysis video, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Also, for the record, little Easter egg. If you didn't notice the window in the trailer, yeah, that looked like the main menu screen from the first game, where you boot it up and there's the quiet and somber window with the Gustavo music. Very interesting touch, to say the least. Until then, see you guys later. I'm out.